So love. That's how I like to begin and end every conversation. Every time I step into a room, every time I leave a room, whether audible, whether look in your eyes or not, you can pretty much guarantee that under my breath, love. And I was in maybe my late teens when my older brother, he's 7 years older, he's got his first tattoo. And when he got his first tattoo, you know how you might get in trouble and get kicked out of the house? Well, my mother wouldn't let that happen, so my father left the house for over a week, right? That's the kind of tension this tattoo carried. So a few years later, I got my first tattoo. So I was pretty, and I have quite a few since then, right? I was pretty sure this would meet some resistance. So I hid my tattoo from my dad for about a week, and then finally had to confront him and tell him about this tattoo. And he had been here before, so it wasn't his first time getting a tattoo. But I could see him stand, and I could see rage building up inside of him. And I said, Dad, I got love tattooed on the outside of my right ankle, so that every step I take in the world for the rest of my life, that would be resonance and vibration, I agree. And his shoulders dropped. And he turned around and he walked away. And as he walked away, I could almost see a subtle smile from behind his ears. I mean, what are you going to say to that, right? And today, hold on, I'll turn this off. Yeah. Your life is about to get better. And for people who didn't come this morning, maybe you can tell them about it. But your life is about to get better because of me being here this morning and you being here to hear what I have to say. And that might sound cocky, self-righteous, but really and truly it's not. You see, the reason I can say that is because that is my intention. That has been my intention from a really young age. It's I made a commitment to make the world a better place, to make people's lives better in everything I do and say. I am also committed to that intention, and I've always been. Now, our idea of commitment, a lot of the time, is we commit to things as long as it's convenient. But when it becomes inconvenient, all of a sudden, commitment wavers a little bit. We make up these excuses. Well, I am committed to making your lives better and the world a better place. And every individual I cross paths with, even for a brief moment, that is my intention. That is my commitment. And here's my perspective and mindset. Will I always make your life better? I believe so. Will you think I'm making your life better? Probably not. Not always. Because I am human and I will make mistakes. And making people's lives better isn't always making them happy. You see, I'm not a yes man. I'm not going to tell you all the time what you want to hear. I will hold a mirror up and show you sometimes the things you don't want to see. And I expect the same of you. But my perspective and mindset is even if in any moment that you don't feel I'm making your life better, I don't feel you're making my life better, that together we are setting a foundation for growth and transformation. And that's not always comfortable. But my intention is to make your life better, and I have full understanding that I do, and I will, even if I don't make you happy. Attention is also why I can make a statement like that. Attention is the most valuable thing we have to offer anyone. See, money doesn't want anything with attention. And I have given my attention to making lives better for over 3 decades now. Right now I'm here this morning to give you all of my intention. Now, while I'm not seeing any robots, I know there are robots in the room, these little things we carry on in our pockets, And they will steal your attention. So put them away if you have them anywhere close. Right now I'm wondering if I put mine on silent, but we'll find out. Now, here's what I want to dive into, right? Privilege is a bad word in our society. It's a word that carries a lot of weight. And I want to start by talking a little bit about my privilege. Not your privilege, my privilege. Now first let's understand privilege, right? A privilege is an advantage. It's an advantage that any one individual or group has that others do not have. That's what a privilege is, right? Now, we have a common label to privilege, which I benefit from in so many ways. I don't know if you noticed, but I'm light-skinned, I'm male, my last name is Hadeed. So you could probably assume I was born into a well-off family. Did I choose these things? No. But I have them. This is what I was born into, right? And for my entire adolescent life, maybe into my 20s, maybe up till 30, I carried a lot of shame and guilt around my privilege from a young age. If you ask me where I grew up, I wouldn't tell you Gibbon Park, I would tell you Taranach. If you ask me what my name was, I probably wouldn't tell you Troy Hadeed, because I knew what that name might carry, right? So there was a lot of shame and guilt around my privilege. And here's the thing about that. If there's shame and guilt around your privilege, that privilege or privileges cannot benefit anyone else but yourself and your inner circles. And I want to talk about owning privilege, right? I say I'm blocking the screen already. You see, owning privilege means that you have to acknowledge your privilege. And only when you acknowledge your privilege can you use that privilege to benefit anyone else but yourself. Only then can you use that privilege and your privileges to benefit something greater than yourself. And I can't tell you what your privilege is. That's not my place. But I can tell you this, that the fact that you're here, that you work at Tatil, and you were able to get here probably means you've been educated, you can read and write, and that just begins privileges. There's so many advantages that we all benefit from that we don't always acknowledge, right? It's not just the large and label of privilege. So I want to talk about privilege beyond the labels. Because these, to me, are the most powerful privileges that exist. And we don't talk about them enough. They're not skin color, they're not race, they're not money, none of that. One is community. And this doesn't have to be family, it's a sense of belonging. It's a support system, right? Community, and then we have safety and security. Knowing what it is to be safe every single day. To have a sense of security, people that have your back, people that will pick you up when you fall. And then this one, knowing what love is. You ever thought of love as a privilege? Love is the biggest privilege there is. And we assume everyone knows what it is to be loved and what real love looks like. That is not true. For a lot of us, the love we have come to know is a conditional love. It's like a business deal. It's like, do what I want you to do and I love you. But start to live in a way that I disapprove of, all of a sudden I start to withdraw my love and my support. I try to teach you a lesson. You know, like cold shoulder, silent treatment. That's withdrawing your love and support. Have a conversation. Just tell somebody how they've hurt you. Love is a privilege, and get this, you might know it, but not everyone does. And I'm going to box this, because I didn't want my mics to have. I'll take these off now. Alright. Luckily my powers are here, not in those. Much, much better. Yeah. So I'm going to box all of these into safety and security, right? So indulge me a little bit. Here's the impact of safety and security. This is really important. Oh, I feel so much freer now, and I can move and not make noise. Without safety and security, an individual feels threatened. They feel unseen. Because every day they're just barely trying to survive. They're trying to meet their basic needs. Everything is a threat. They're always overly cautious, which means they're resistant to take risks. Because if they take a risk and it doesn't work out, well, who's there to pick them up, right? And then the blame game. I say this loosely, right? But people who don't know safety and security can become overcome by blame game. Everything is always everyone else's fault. Now, I'm not saying it's not true. It might be true. The environmental circumstances might be harsh. Their circumstances might be harsh. They may grow up in a system that has never made them feel safe and secure. But they get overcome with that, and they lose track of what they can do to try and rise above that system. That's what I mean by blame game. Self-development. If I don't feel safe and secure, you want me to go to a yoga class? You want me to meditate? Read a book? Do an online course? I don't have time for that. I am just trying to meet my basic needs and survive every day. And my personal needs become my absolute priority because my basic needs are not met. So my priority becomes meeting my basic needs, whether it be those of myself or my family and my children. If I don't have that sense of safety and security, that is my absolute priority, even if it has a negative impact on everyone else. Now, with safety and security, this is what I had my whole life. My biggest privilege. I have always felt safe and secure. You feel appreciated. You feel confident because everyone has your back. You're able to take risks because you know if you jump out your comfort zone, take a risk and fall on your face, financially or emotionally, which is more important, somebody said to pick you up. Accountability. When somebody feels safe and secure, they are able to put their hand up and say, I made a mistake. I'm going to do better. Because if they don't feel safe and secure, they feel like owning up to a mistake, it's going to come in judgment and punishment. Self-development. You now have time to go to yoga class and do an online course and read a book and dedicate the last 15 years of your life to the practice of yoga and meditation and a human experience. And then, when your basic needs are met, you feel safe and secure. You can then ask a question, how can I save everyone else? How can I save a collective that is bigger than myself? You take the same individual and have them live a life with safety and security versus one without, and at the end of it, you get two very different people. Now, one of the biggest things my privilege has allowed me is the opportunity to dedicate the last 15, 20 years of my life to excavating human experience. Yoga, personal development, meditation, all of it, right? And about 15 years ago, I did what we call a Vipassana meditation. And what that is 10 days of silence with no talking, no books, no writing, no devices, no external stimulus. For 10 days, all I did was sit on a cushion. With a group of people, of course. Thank God for them, because I never would have left. And we would get up and go and eat and get up and go and sleep and maybe get up and go and walk in the forest for an hour, all in absolute silence. For 10 days. And the first 5 days of those 10 days was, you see this image on the left? That's what it felt like. It felt like I was at war with myself. And all I could think about was my girlfriend was cheating on me, I was getting bored. My business was going bankrupt because I wasn't there. My grandmother was dying while I was sitting in a cushion. All my friends were partying and lying in my 20s while I sat on a cushion for 10 years, wasting my life away. There was even a war that would prevent me from getting back home. None of this was true. None of it. But my mind believed it. And because my mind believed it, it became my reality. And my body started to ache. And there was a guide, and about halfway through, the guide said something that brought me to realize that all of these thoughts that kept coming back and impacting my reality, they were all based on fear. All of them. And the second I could acknowledge where these thoughts were coming from, they no longer had power over me. I'm not saying they never came back. But when they came back, I could see them. I knew they were coming from, and I knew I had chosen to live from a place of love, not fear. So when they came back, I could gently just say, I see you, I know you're not true. And they no longer had the same power over me. After those 10 days, I said I would never do that again. But everybody in the world should do it, because it was such a powerful experience. And then about 15 years later, last September, things change. Sometimes you forget that things change. So last August, I stepped into this room, solitary by myself, right? So in this room, you'll see a bed, a shower, toilet, and there's a light-proof window in the corner. And you might wonder, why is there a light-proof window? Well, because the room actually looked like this. It was in the complete absence of light. Solitary, complete darkness for 10 days. I came out on day 3, and that's a whole different story. And I think what I got in 3 days was an experience on steroids. That experience in a nutshell was probably the most difficult thing I've ever experienced in my life. I experienced levels of anxiety and depression that I never thought possible. I faced death, I faced psychosis, I faced flashing lights that I knew were not there, they were in my head. I swore to God I was going to be kidnapped. I had volunteered to be kidnapped and given up my devices and my phone and everything. That could be another 2-hour discussion, a 2-day discussion. But here's a few things I discovered in that room. I discovered that our relationships define who we are. Now I went into that room asking a question. People ask, why you went in the room in the first place? I could give you a lot of reasons, but here's one reason. Everything you know yourself to be is in relation to something external. I am Troy because you are who you are. I am a human being because this is a war. I have an opinion because somebody else has an opposing opinion. Light exists because there's dark. Everything we think we know ourselves to be is in relation to something external. But that's not what I'm saying. Our relationships define who we are. What I'm referring to is the resonance and the vibration of our relationships. How we make people feel, how we impact people, that's what defines us. And that resonance and vibration, it lives far beyond our bodies. And I'm sure we've all in the room realized that at some day we're going to die. Right? Sometimes we need a reminder. Someday we are going to leave our bodies. But here's the thing. Further than that, observe this one for a moment. There will be a day after you leave your body. It might be a day, it might be 10 days, it might be a year, it might be 10 decades, it might be 100 years, when no one will remember your name. No one will remember your name. No one will remember what you've done or your accomplishments. And you will not remember a great time you had in your body. All of it will disappear. But the resonance and vibration of your relationships will live forever. Because it is impossible for you to leave this room the same person that walked in. Every interaction we have changes somebody. It changes who they are on a level of consciousness. Therefore, every conversation they have, You live in that conversation, you live in that experience, and the children, and it goes on and on and on. You know, Einstein said that energy cannot be created nor destroyed. Resonance and vibration in your relationships, it lives forever. This doesn't. This is temporary, as your clothes are moving right now. So while the resonance and vibration of your relationships lives forever, there's one relationship that is the ultimate most important. And that is the relationship of your mind. Because your mind is the home of fear, anxiety, and stress. It's the home of your conditioning and your habitual patterns. We have all been conditioned by our upbringing and our relationships. And this might be news to you. Not all that conditioning is good conditioning. Not all of your conditioning is positive conditioning. Not all of my conditioning is positive conditioning, right? That creates habitual patterns. Trauma and emotional intelligence. All of this lives in the mind. Now, there's an amazing definition of trauma by Dr. Gabor Mate. If you haven't heard of him, you should go on YouTube. He says that trauma is not what happens to us. It's what happens inside of us in response to what happens to us. It's a narrative we write in response, the story we write within ourselves in response to what happens to us. All of that lives here. Emotional intelligence, or the lack of emotional intelligence, up here. Your perception of the world lives in your mind. All of it lives in mind. Oh wait, let's go back. That's important. Freedom lives in your mind. You know this song we love to sing? Don't know if you ever heard of it. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. Yeah, Bob Marley. Of course you heard of it. That was a joke. Most of us have no idea what that means. We are so disconnected. We sing songs and Bob Marley. Do we understand what this man is saying? If you are not free of your mind, if you do not have a relationship to your mind, you are puppet to it. There's no such thing as freedom without a relationship to this. Your mind is king of everything. So much so that if you sat down in here and I walked up here and you decided this man, some yogi mumbo jumbo, who he feels he is, he has nothing to offer me, then you're probably sitting in there trying to disregard everything I'm saying. If you told me this wall was peach yellow and I told you it was red, whatever that is, and you told me I was crazy, what if to me this is red? You can't convince me that's another color unless I choose to believe it's another color. Your mind is king of everything. It's also your ride or die. It's like an eternal marriage, but there's no separation or divorce. So you have a choice. You could be at war with your mind, which means the rest of your life is going to be agonizing, most of it. But you don't have to be your mind's enemy. Your mind doesn't have to be your enemy. You can't create friends with your mind. Your mind could be your best friend. You just have to spend quality time. You have to take 5-10 minutes every day and just sit with your mind. Without Netflix, without your cell phone, without anything, just you and your mind. It might be hard at first, but that's how you begin to cultivate a relationship with your mind. Your mind can rob you of your purpose. Some of you guys who have the answer talk might remember your purpose, right? Your mind robs you of your purpose. So what is your purpose? Anybody who has the answer talk can't answer. Anybody want to say what the purpose is? My brother, if you have a purpose, what's your purpose? Anything. Alright, go on.
My purpose is
providing for your family. Anybody else want to say what the purpose is? You're talking to each other while you're not talking to me. I don't care. Anybody want to say what the purpose is? Alright. Well, I used to think my purpose was changing the world. That was my purpose, to impact the world in a positive way. Your purpose right now is to listen to me speak. That is your purpose. And I know it might sound, when someone first told me that, I was like, you have something up somewhere? Like, how can you say that? How egotistical do you have to be to say that? Then I began to understand your purpose is to be present in every moment. And right now I am speaking to you. Your purpose is to listen. If you were up here speaking, my purpose is to listen to you speak. Because this is where you are. This is where your attention needs to be. So, here's a few things about purpose. Every moment has its own purpose. Every single moment has its own purpose. And if I'm listening and paying attention and in my purpose, it leads me to another moment of purpose, which puts a light in my eyes, so I then step forward again and have another moment of purpose. But if you start to think your purpose is too big, I use this example in September. If my purpose is getting to the back of the room, I can walk straight to the back of the room and beeline and achieve my purpose. And then I'll end up there alone and be like, okay, what now? I achieved my purpose. But if I'm really in every moment of purpose, I will probably have 60 conversations on the way there. And when I get to the back of the room, all of us will be standing at the back of that room. Or we might all decide we're going to go for lunch instead. But if I'm in my purpose, it leads to something far greater than we could ever imagine. Because our imagination, our dreams are limited. You can't think your purpose. So that was a trick question, both you, so I apologize, right? You can't think what your purpose is. Your purpose is being. It's a being. It's not a thinking, right? But in mind, if you have no relationship to it, it's always thinking. To have a relationship in mind is to be able to be present. And that's when you discover your purpose. And I want to stress on this, it's not a dream, it is not a vision, it is not a hope. Those are different things. That is not your purpose. If you learn to live in your purpose, it helps you achieve a dream, a hope, and a vision. Chances are it helps you achieve a dream that is far greater than you could have ever dreamed. Because there is an intelligence that dreams bigger than we do. Whatever you want to call it, at least to me there is. And there is to me a collective curriculum. If I am in my purpose, I'm not just living for me. I'm contributing to something greater. And if all of us start to live in our purpose and be present, the world is going to change rapidly. And we're going to create a world that is very different to what we could have ever imagined. This question I used to ask, how can I change the world? It's a question that some of you may have asked. I hope you asked at some point in your life. But there's an environmentalist, Jane Goodall, she said you're asking the wrong question. The question you should ask is, how am I changing the world? Because how can I change the world is a dream, it's a vision, it's a hope. It's not right here, right now. How am I changing the world? It's right here, right now. And if you get consumed with the first question, you might not realize that your actions, your words, and your thoughts every day actually have a negative impact on the people around you. You're so consumed with achieving this massive dream and vision that you don't realize that what you're doing is in disconnect to that vision. Start asking questions and bringing your attention to your purpose. How am I changing the world? Because everything you do, every word, action, and thought changes the world around you. That is your purpose. Now, there's something that prevents us from being in our purpose, and I call it our identity crisis. Now, the identity crisis revolves around this: I am Troy, and this is my body. Yeah? It gives us a sense of individual identity. And then as we grow up, now, by the way, the narrative and programming that begins, when this begins, which is at like age 1, is that I am separate, that we are separate, We are not part of a whole. I am an individual and I am separate from everything else around me. Now, as I grow into adulthood, I have a sense of career. I have a sense of opinion. Maybe a religion and a mood. Imagine that we actually say things like, I am sad. We define ourselves by our moods. And our moods are just temporary. We say things like, I am a yoga teacher. Well, right now I'm speaking. Does that mean I can never teach yoga again? Does that mean if I was an accountant and all of a sudden I give up that job and I want to be a teacher, can I be a teacher? Of course. So that means, well, I am not an accountant. It's just what I do. What we do and what we believe, or even our religion, you can change your religion. These things are not who we are. They are just, and if you make them who you are and you get attached by these sense of identities, guess what happens? You surround yourself with a box. And you say, this is who I am. And when you do that, you know what else you do? You limit your growth and transformation. Because in 10, 20 years, you'll still be in that box. For you to embrace any sense of growth or transformation, you have to remove that box and these labels around who you think you are. Because none of them are true. We already talked about this. The only thing that lives forever is the resonance and vibrations of your relationships. That is who you are. This is not who I am. You cannot convince me that I am my body. Personally, I invite you to consider that you are something so much more than your physical body. Now, personal needs and desires become our unconscious and automatic priority when this sense of identity overcomes us. And let me connect some dots for you. If I were to believe that I am my physical body, then what I am saying is that when I leave my body, I will cease to exist. That is not true to me. Because I know I will live forever in the resonance and vibration and consciousness of humanity and everything I have contributed towards it. But if I am my body, and when something happens to my body, I cease to exist, well then I am going to do everything in my power to preserve my sense of identity, even if it harms yours. This is our programming. When we get obsessed with this, anything around I and this sense of identity, we do whatever we need to preserve it, including our opinions. You know, now like we just went through the pandemic, somebody's pro-vax, somebody's anti-vax, and all of a sudden they're at war, and they're on different teams. You just have different opinions. You're not on different teams. And we get so attached to these opinions that when somebody has a different opinion, it's like we're on different teams. We're not. And this thinking, right, this obsession with preservation, self-preservation, it takes us out of our purpose. Because it's this unconscious programming that has us thinking, well, what's going to happen tomorrow? What about next year? What about next weekend? It has us start thinking about what our future will bring because we are so concerned for our own survival. And then if we're in a situation where that is unpleasant, we start to think about the past and how pleasant the past may have been and how much we want our present experience to be like something in the past. This obsession with personal desires takes us out of the present moment. It takes us out of your purpose. And it starts to impact our mindset and culture. Now, for a long time, 15 years, I have been working with people on an individual level, trying to shift the individual mind and the individual perspective so it can impact social culture. But last September, when I stood in front of the answer group, something landed for me. There's something I was missing. You see, what I didn't recognize was corporate mind and corporate culture. And while I could recognize that the individual mind impacts corporate culture, right? Individual mind is my preservations, mine is my desires. Corporate mind is profit. Corporate mind is profit. And then you have a corporate mind which shapes corporate culture. But you know what I was missing? The impact corporate culture could have on social culture. That I could work with people on an individual level and shift their individual perspectives. This is my video guy. You're not on video right now. But if we can impact corporate culture and a corporate mind, we can have a much larger impact on social culture in a massive way. So let's talk Tatil, right? So I want to talk Tatil or not today? Tatil. Does Tatil have a purpose? And what defines Tatil? Now, naturally, Tatil is a corporation. So an organization in itself maybe doesn't have the ability to be present in its purpose. So I'm talking about a larger impact, a larger purpose. If Tatil had a purpose, what would it be? Anybody want to shoot at this? No? I don't bite in real safe. Safety and security. That is the purpose of Tatil. And as part of Tatil, that is also your purpose. To make people feel safe. And you know what, to be honest, I never really liked insurance companies. You give them all this money and then you keep giving them money and then maybe one day you claim, maybe one day you don't. And if you don't ever claim, well, you give them all your money. Until recently, it all landed for me. So I'm going to tell you a little story. I was in a car accident a few months ago. I was wrong. I was wrong, blatantly wrong. Luckily, nobody got hit. Small accident. But I got out of the car and I said, "Brother, I'm sorry. I'm real sorry." His door couldn't open, so he had to climb through the passenger seat. But his girlfriend was in the passenger seat. And I said again, I said, "It was my fault. I'm sorry. Like, go and sort it out." You know what she said to me? She said, "Sorry? I don't accept no," she used profanity, "no effing apologies. You can't tell me sorry, I don't accept no apology." I said, "Cool, well, I'm sorry you don't accept apologies." Because in that moment, I'll tell you what I downloaded right away. You know why she doesn't accept apologies? Because she grew up in a world and circumstances that have never made her feel safe and secure. And anytime somebody said sorry to her, they probably never acted in accordance in which they were really sorry. Never showed that they were sorry. Over the next few hours, we went to police station. I accepted accountability of him back every time. Took them straight to my mechanic, said, "Fix his car now." Didn't call insurance yet. I knew that was wrong with me, right? But I didn't call insurance yet. But I knew my insurance company had my back, no matter what. I knew it wasn't Tatil, unfortunately. I knew, so I'm not getting nobody in trouble, but I knew my insurance company had my back. So I knew this man was driving a car that he rented, was driving taxi. So I gave him money so he didn't have to give up the car, to pay rental for the car. I gave him money to cover his income. At the end of it, I gave him all that and more to cover income, to cover the rental of the car. And his experience was that even if he got in an accident, and he wasn't wrong, and someone else's insurance fixed the car, the owner of the car would still take money away from him for depreciation. He did not know safety and security. At the end of that very first day of that accident, I get a random message on Facebook from his girlfriend. You know what it said? She found me on Facebook. You know what it said? "I'm sorry."
Oh.
He said, I'm sorry. Thank you for reminding me there are still good people in the world. Safety and security in our society in Trinidad is the largest privilege there is. And the majority of our population don't have it. And you, Tatil, you bring it. You can not only make your customers feel safe, you can make society feel safe. And that has to begin with your family, your staff, and your friends. So how can we make one another feel safe? How can we make others feel safe? Well, there are many ways, but here's a few ways you can do that. One is, listen to understand. Don't assume you know why someone is doing something or why they think and feel or hold a certain opinion. You have no clue. Get out of your head and listen. Give someone your attention so you can understand where they're coming from. And then be open, because we all have conditioning. And your conditioning might not be good conditioning. So when somebody comes with a suggestion or wants to do something a little bit differently, be open and really consider it. I have this problem, part of my conditioning, from my upbringing, where if I have a point of view and you come with another point of view, a lot of the time my initial reaction is no. And then I walk away. And I'm like, but wait, that could actually work. And then I come back and say, wait, I was thinking about it. So a no is never a hard no. But be open to your conditioning and to other people's suggestions. Identify where you can do better. You can always do better. No matter how beautiful and great we are, we can always do better. And here's what happens when other people around you see you committed to doing better and being a better human being. They feel safe around you. And you inspire them to do better. And make accountability accessible. This is a big thing in our culture now. People make a mistake and we hang them. We sling them up on a cross. If we keep doing that, no one's going to want to take accountability. Why would you? If you know that all you have to face is punishment and judgment, why would you be accountable? Create an environment and relationships where it's okay for somebody to say, yo, I made a mistake. I'm really sorry, I'm going to do better. Then we can all learn from that mistake. Accountability should be applauded. It shouldn't be judged when people own mistakes. So how can we make accountability accessible? And know your power. You know, we have this common new age. People have to say, know your power, I'm powerful, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. It's true. But you can't conveniently look at the times when you acknowledge your power. Everything you do is powerful. Which means every word, every thought, every action makes somebody feel safe or makes them feel judged and threatened. So understand your power and the culture you are breeding and the seeds you are planting in all of your relationships, not just co-workers. Acknowledge humanness, acknowledging our humanness, all of that, and making people feel safe. And relationships and emotions, these are some of the hardest things to navigate, right? But if we can acknowledge humanness, it makes it a lot better. And what I'm about to tell you is going to land. We all have relationships in which it lands. It's going to land. You see, everyone is a product of their conditioning. Everyone. You might think you have a problem with me, but that's impossible because I am not my body. What you might have is a problem with my conditioning. You might have a problem with my opinions and the ways I show up in the world, but that is all conditioning. You see, what I am is the same that you are. A spark of God, a child of God, whatever you believe God to be. But beneath our conditioning, we are all the same. Acknowledge that everyone is a product of their conditioning. Now, without judging someone, you can judge and critique their conditioning. But if you really want to make a difference in the world, you have to help them reprogram. You have to contribute to their reconditioning. What do you think is the first step to doing that? Take a guess. Leaders go first. Clearly, Q&A is going to be tough. You have to make somebody feel safe. If you go like this, head to head all the time, like you often do, judging people, you might create a temporary change of mind, but you can't change someone on a heart level. To change someone on a heart level, real change, you have to first make them feel safe. And get this, not everyone knows better. You know, we love to point fingers and say, you should know better. You don't know that. Knowing better is a privilege. Having somebody to teach you right from wrong and the opportunities that teach you to be better is a privilege. One of my favorite quotes says, privilege is blind to those who have it. You have to go looking to understand your privilege. Nothing is personal. We covered this already. I could never have a problem with you, no matter what you do to me. Somebody asked me recently, so you don't hate anyone, you don't have anybody you hate, and it was a hard no. Hard no. Because when we see one another as conditioning, then hate begins to dissolve. We can be upset, we can be sad, we can be disappointed, we can be hurt. But hate, that's far. If we see conditioning, if we see people as conditioning, then hate begins to soften a little bit. Consider that we are walking one another home. Meaning that I don't believe I am my body. That means you are not your body. That means on some level that we can't understand, we are here to walk a curriculum, to have our experience. And you are my teachers. And I am your teacher. And as we navigate this curriculum, my flaws and mistakes will provide for you an opportunity to learn compassion, forgiveness, while I learn to overcome shame and guilt. But even our mistakes are part of each other's curriculum. We are simply walking one another. Now, here's a summary of this. When we see one another as seeds of God, each with unique conditioning and a specific curriculum to navigate, forgiveness is not an option, guys, because it's inevitable. At some point, forgiveness is inevitable if we can simply acknowledge that everyone is a product of their conditioning. Now I'm about to show you a video that's only about 2 minutes, 30 seconds long, but I want to invite you to give it your full attention. And I want to mix our body, because it will change your life. And if your emotions come up, and whatever you feel, I want to invite you just to place your feet on the ground, sit, and feel it, because you are safe, right?
I remember my stepfather, would beat me, and he would beat me with extension cords and hangers and, pieces of wood and all kinds of stuff. And, after every beating, he would tell me, it hurt me more than it hurt you. And, I only did it because I love you. It was kind of, it communicated the wrong message to me about what love was. So for many years, I thought that love was supposed to hurt. And I hurt everyone that I love. And I measured love by how much pain someone would take from me. And it wasn't until I came to prison in an environment that is devoid of love that I began to have some sort of understanding about what it actually was and was not. And I met someone, and she gave me my first real insight into what love was because she saw past my conditions and the fact that I was in prison with a life sentence for murder. And not only for murder, but for doing the worst kind of murder that a man can do, murdering a woman and a child. And it was Agnes, the mother and grandmother of Patricia and Chris, the woman and child that I murdered, who gave me my best lesson about love, because by all rights, she should hate me. But she didn't. And over the course of time and through the journey that we took, that's been pretty amazing. She gave me love. And she taught me what it was.
And close your eyes for a moment. Just close your eyes, trust me. Maybe place your hands on your thighs. Only just to feel, just soak that in for a moment and feel. And I'm just going to lead you through a few rounds of breath, right? So if you can follow with me, that would be great. You just need to hear my voice. You don't need to see me. If you need eyes open, then that's okay too, but eyes closed would be preferred. Just come to the bottom of your exhale and pause. And inhale for a count of 3, 2, pause. Exhale for 3, 2, pause. Inhale for 3, 2, pause. Exhale for 3, 2, pause. And just release control of your breath. Gently open your eyes. You might know that 3 breaths and you feel a little different from when you may have first finished watching the video. But to conclude mind, right? Mind is your sense of home, is houses your sense of identity, conditioning, trauma, habitual patterns, perspectives, opinions, emotions, narratives, projections, fears, anxiety, stress, and all your limiting beliefs. Your mind is the home of all of it. Your mind is the king of everything. That's only part of the teaching, though. Because your breath is king of your mind. And there's one thing that can tame your mind, and it's your breath. So for the last few minutes here, we're going to go through a little bit of breath stuff, right? Now, very rarely do we ever go to the doctor and the doctor asks, how is your breathing? Well, let me put this in perspective. You eat 3 meals a day, you can live 50 days without food and water. You can live your whole life without exercising. You can probably live a week, maybe 5 days without sleeping, but you probably go absolutely insane. But you breathe 23,000 times a day, and you can't live more than 4 minutes without breathing. So you tell me what you think has more of an impact on your body and the way you live. How does breath work? A lot of us believe we've been breathing for decades. We know how to breathe, right? So when we inhale, we pull air into our bodies. Answer, guys, you can't reply to this. That's a kind of giveaway. And I would ask about hair, is that true or false? When we inhale, we pull air into our bodies. Yeah? Yeah. No, that's false. That's not how breath works. When you suck through a straw, that's pulling air through your body. For most people, when they breathe, you tell someone to take a big breath, this is how it looks. That's pulling air into your body. That's not how we're supposed to breathe. That's not how breath actually works. I learned to breathe at 27 years old, 3 years after teaching yoga. And for a lot of you today, you might learn to breathe if you stand today. Congrats. If you pay attention. So before we get there, here are a few essential concepts of breathing, right? One is, you do not breathe into your belly. No much times we say, you hear people say, breathe into your belly, breathe into your belly. You can't. You cannot breathe into your abdominal cavity. The only reason this expands is because you have a diaphragm, thank God. It's your main muscle breathing under your rib cage. So when you inhale, it descends into your abdominal cavity, which is like a water balloon. So you press on the top of a water balloon and it bulges. The only reason your abdominal cavity expands is because your diaphragm moves down into it. You cannot exactly breathe into your belly. That is not where you breathe. Understand that. Check. Second one, volume and air pressure are inversely related. This is important. I know it's physics, you might have resistance. But if I have a box, I'm giving you some clues here. If I have a box, right? And inside this box has a set air pressure, and I expand the volume of that box and make it bigger, what happens to the air pressure? Somebody? It goes down, right? Imagine that we were having a party in here, right? And there was 1,000 people in this room. We would all be standing like this. But if you double the size of the room, you have more room to move, right? In Trinidad language. So volume and air pressure are inversely related. Gases move from high pressure to low pressure. This is just a law of nature, right? Law of nature. So here's how breath works, really simply. If I ask most people where they breathe, they'll tell me their belly or their chest. If I'm really lucky, they'll tell me belly and chest. But what about everything else? When you breathe, your sternum expands. Your diaphragm descends. Your ribcage should expand like gills of a fish. And even your back expands to breathe. You can create space and increase the volume of your thoracic cavity in every possible dimension. The more space you create is the more air you can receive. Let me connect some dots for you. This is my thoracic cavity. Consider it's a box. When my ribcage expands, and my diaphragm descends, and my chest lifts, and my back body expands, I increase the volume of the box. When that happens, the air pressure inside of me decreases, which now means that the air pressure outside is higher than the air pressure inside. So the air moves into me to create balance. That's how breath works. That's why it's harder to breathe at higher altitudes, because at higher altitudes, the air pressure is lower, so you have to create more space to receive the same amount of air. Make sense? Now, I like to say, we don't actually breathe. You don't actually pull air into your body. You create space to be breathed by an external force. And whatever force is breathing me, it's the same force breathing you. It is a gift. Breath is a gift, right? But we have to be able to create space to receive that gift. We have to create shape change. The more shape change we could create, the more we could breathe, right? Now here are some factors impacting our ability to change the shape of our body. Anxiety, stress, and worry. When you're overwhelmed, even with work, or family, or relationships, or stress, or world, or society, and you feel anxious, the body goes into fight and flight. The body starts to contract. Muscles get tight, the breath gets fast, you can no longer create space to receive breath. One-dimensional breathing. If you're only breathing up and down, or down or up, and you don't have a relationship to your back body or your rib cage, it's going to limit your ability to breathe. Physical tightness. Most national athletes come to me and say, hey, again injured, my back hurting or whatever, my muscles are tight. I say, yeah, but that's not all that's happening. You're probably emotionally reactive because you're not breathing properly because your muscles are tight. Everything is connected. Tight hamstrings and tight quads, tight shoulders, tight back, tight side body. If you are tight, I guarantee you, you're not breathing properly. I saw a big gulp there. Anyway, your inability to relax inhibits your ability to breathe. So the very first thing you should do if you feel anxious or overwhelmed is just stop. Stop. Lie down on the floor, turn off your lights, set your timer for 10 minutes. Just stop. Just rest and relax. That will loosen, release the physical tension in your body and allow your breath to come back in. Now, the next 2 slides, I do not have to talk about. But I feel that if I don't, I will be inauthentic to who I am. So I'm going to, right? Because we're going to talk about spirit. Now, I've never allowed anyone to define what God was for me. My relationship to God is mine. And your relationship to God is yours. So whatever you want to call God, whatever that means to you, or spirit, that is what I'm talking about, right? Spirit comes from the Latin root spiritus. Spiritus means to breathe. So I want to invite you to consider that there is some element of divine intelligence in the air we breathe. Just sit with that for a moment. And I can't tell you what that means to you, but I can tell you what it means to me. And these are things for you to consider. It makes sense, first of all, because breath is the one thing that connects every one of us. The molecules of air that were inside of me an hour ago, sorry to tell you, but they have passed through your body already. And vice versa. And then when we go outside, we take those molecules of air outside. It's the one thing that connects us more than ancestry, more than DNA, more than opinion, more than name. It makes sense to me that there's some divine intelligence in the air we breathe. I have also come to believe that there is communication in our breath. That whatever, if anything, you believe in some higher intelligence, it speaks to you. It didn't stop speaking back in the day of Moses. We just stopped listening because the mind got too loud. But if you learn to be with your breath, sometimes there are things that come to you and you have no idea where it came from. The breath carries intelligence. I also have come to believe that prayer is not something you do, right? Prayer is not something you do. I consider this meaning that God is making love to me 23,000 times a day, every time I breathe, in and out. Making love to all of you. We can't choose when we're going to pray, morning and evening. We are living embodiments of prayer. Everything you do, every word, action and thought is a prayer. It's convenient to pray in the morning and pray in the evening and pray on Sunday when you go to church. But what about everything else? What about when you walk past a hungry man on the street and you don't take the time to feed him? Or to be and spend a moment. Just look into his eyes and say, yo, I see you. Make him feel seen. That is a prayer. Greed is a prayer. Jealousy is a prayer. All the things that come out of the mouth, these are prayers. These are the things we are unconsciously praying for. We have to bring more awareness to our unconscious prayers. More attention to them. It also means to me that we are not separate. We've been told this narrative, I am Troy, I am my body. I let that go a long time ago. It's not true to me. I believe we're a lot more connected than we have ever been led to believe. And I also believe that God is far closer than we could ever imagine. I'm not condemning any belief or anything. Maybe God is up in the sky somewhere, sure. But He's also inside of every living individual. Anything that is touched by this breath or this air, God lives in that. Now, we're getting there, guys. I promise. We have one breathing exercise, right? And I want you to sit up tall and place your feet on the floor. Let me your eyes just for a moment. I'll talk you through it and then we'll do it, right? What we're going to do is split your breath into 3 parts, right? So the first part, let's call it number 1. You're going to breathe into your diaphragm and your abdomen, right? Then we're going to pause. So we're going to inhale the abdomen, pause. Then I'm going to tell you inhale to part 2, which is your rib cage. So you try to expand your rib cage, breathe into the sides of your body, then pause. Then we're going to inhale into your chest and your sternum, and pause. And then we're going to take one long exhale, exhale all the air out. Now when you exhale all the air, it means your body gets small, your belly draws to your spine, no more air left. Then we're going to hold at the bottom of the exhale. Then we're just going to release. Don't pull it in, just release. Good? And then we'll do that about 3 times around. Sound good? Good. Sit up nice and tall for me. Close your eyes. If you don't want to close your eyes, don't close your eyes. Whatever makes you feel safe. Come to the bottom of your exhale and pause. But I invite you to participate. Now inhale into your abdomen and belly. Pause. Inhale into your ribcage. Pause. Inhale into your sternum and chest. Pause. Now exhale all the way out from top down. All the way out, all the way out, all the way out. Draw your belly to your spine. No more anybody. Hold. Now just release. And let it come back to balance. Good? Let's try 2 more times around. Come to the bottom of your exhale and pause. Inhale into your abdomen. Pause. Inhale into your ribcage. Pause. Inhale into your chest and sternum. Pause and hold. Exhale all the way out from the top down. All the way out, all the way out. Make that small belly to spine, no more in your body. Hold. And now just release. You don't have to pull air back in. As you release, you realize the air moves back into you, right? Let's try 1 more time. Bottom of your exhale, pause. Inhale into your belly and abdomen. Pause. Inhale into your ribcage. Pause. Inhale into your chest and sternum. Pause and hold. Exhale all the way down, from the top down, all the way out your body, belly to spine. Hold. Now just release. Sit with it. Just release the breath. Maybe close your eyes if they're not closed and just sit for a moment. Gently open your eyes. So that is a practice you can practice at home. What it does is bring a relationship in different parts of your breath, right? And I can also send you, Gamal and these guys, a video that we're about to put on YouTube that walks you through that practice online, right? So I'll send it to these guys. But you can also do it reverse, right? So this is called Viloma 1. If you wanted to do it reverse, you would do one long inhale and then split your exhale into 3 parts. Chest, pause. Ribcage, pause. Belly, abdomen, pause. Yeah? Now, a relationship with your breath and your mind will do many things. Among them, decrease anxiety and stress, give you the ability to direct your attention so that your attention suits your intentions. Because without attention, all your intentions are dead. They're just flowery talk. They sound great, but if you have no relationship to your attention, your intentions are useless. It helps you reprogram your own conditioning. It helps you realize your purpose and be present with people, be present to human experience. It helps you extend your sense of identity So everything isn't always about I, me. That you begin to serve something larger than yourself. And it gives you the ability to make others feel safe. Because you now have the gift of attention and you're no longer emotionally reactive because you know how to breathe. It allows you to make others feel safe. Now, a lot of people have asked me, still ask me, I live up in Pyramid, in the jungle, and it's very peaceful, and I come down and I teach yoga, and people ask all the time, like, you get sad, you get depressed. Like, do you feel these things? Yeah, I do, all the time. All the time. I look at the state of the world. I have financial worries like everybody else. Everybody else. I look at the state of the world, I look at humankind. I have all these pressures acting on me. There are days when all I want to do is walk away from society. Go live on some paradise island in South Pacific, do yoga every day, meditate, pray to God, surf every day. I'm a bachelor at 43, no kids. I can do that easy, I can do that tomorrow. But when I feel these feelings, this heaviness of the world, or my experience at any one point in time, there's a voice that comes up inside of me. And it's a voice that says, how dare you? How dare you, with all that you've been given, with all the privileges and blessings and people you have that love and support you, how dare you not at least try to make your world a better place? How dare you not at least try to make people feel safe? Tatil, how dare we not at least try? How dare we not at least try in any moment to make people feel safe, to make your world a better place? Because much like I stepped up here and made a cocky statement that I'll make your lives better, I believe I have, whether you realize it or not. But so can you. You can make everyone's life better. In the briefest of interaction, could be the briefest smile, could be opening a door for someone. But here's something I want you to remember as you go out there and try to navigate your relationships and the world. It's something I put on my arm in ink so I can never forget it. And I wish I discovered it 2 or 3 decades earlier. It's this. We have not come to teach. We have come to love. And love will teach. Sometimes we get stuck in his head where all we want to do is prove someone wrong, prove an opinion wrong. We want to make ourselves right. We want to shake them up and in one split second change their perspective of life. It doesn't happen like that. The first thing you need to do is make somebody feel safe. Love them. And then you might change them on a heart level rather than a mind level. This is me. These are my handles. You can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, talk to me after I'll hang around if you have any questions. We'll go into Q&A now briefly.